Today I am very excited to share with you the top 10 cards in my collection of the man that is indicative of the 90s, Penny Hardaway. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the most passionate content for card collectors on YouTube and possibly the whole entire internet. As usual, I am your host, Jake Roy, 90s B-Ball Cards here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, a little bit of Twitter, and slacking again on TikTok. But I have some stuff in the works. It's ready to go once I have it edited, so stay tuned. There will be more there. Just been slacking recently. So, yes, today we're going into the top 10 cards in my Penny Hardaway collection. You may know Penny is my #1 PC guy. I love Penny, ride or die. That is my PC guy. So, every year I like to share with you the top 10 cards of him in my collection. And there are a lot of new entrants to that list this year. I'm really excited to share this list with you. It is a lot of cards that I really enjoy on a frequent basis. So, let's get right into those beauties. Alright, here we go, starting with number 10. We've got the recently graded. If you've seen my recent grading order, you probably have seen this one. So the 96-97, this is the Flair Showcase Legacy Row 1. So this is the second variant of 3 from 96-97, the first year of the Legacy collections. These are numbered to 150 copies each. The 7 wasn't a huge shock to me. We talked about it during the grading, but the interesting thing is I actually recently saw a copy of this card in a PSA 9 with the centering that looks very similar. So you can see if you look at the subs, again, we talked about this in the grading reveal, the centering of a 6 is really what's holding this back because everything else looks good, 9, 9, 8, 5. So one of those that after seeing that PSA 9, I debated whether or not I wanted to send this off to PSA, but like we've talked about, this is straight PC, so I wanted to protect it. I like it in the BGS slab. Do I love the grade? No, but that's not what it's all about. It's about the card more so than anything. And I love this card. Again, great memory of the deal. The Sweet Harvard deal to get my first Legacy ever in my collection. So I also really love the Row 1. It's very similar to the 97-98 Row 2, which is also one of those patterns that I just really love. I love the dark background. I love the full picture of Penny in his white uniform as well. So just one of those that I really enjoy. I love the blue lettering for the Magic. I don't love it for a lot of other players. I've been one of those guys that has not been a huge fan of the Legacy cards for a while, but for Penny, I definitely do, and that's important for me because that's my PC guy. But this one has been on the list since it's been in my collection, but this is the first time it's been on the list, and, you're seeing it here graded. So last year, this was actually number 9 on the list, so this year, taking a little bit of a bump down at 10, but the value is, it's probably about the same. We didn't talk about value last year. We're not going to get too much into that. Obviously, I'll flash up there what Card Ladder shows us on this. But Card Ladder's actually showing us a value of a raw copy because this doesn't have many graded, and there are none that I could find that have sold in the same condition for just about every card on this list. So, we'll go with what Card Ladder says, and you can look at the data there. Number 9, another one that you're probably going to be familiar with that has been on the list before. This is the 96-97, again, Flair Showcase Legacy, but this one is the Row 2. I think I said the other one's the Row 1. This is the Row 2. If I didn't say that or I mixed it up, apologies. But this is basically the base version, the first one. This is the second one. Then there's a Row 0 that many of us are familiar with. It has kind of that sparkle. Don't have the Row 0 yet. I was close to closing a deal on one, but it eluded my grasp. So anyway, this one is one that I got raw, sent off to PSA, got a PSA 9, and it was one of those that I was debating whether or not I wanted to keep it in my collection or if I wanted to move it to get a different card in my collection. And after having graded it, getting the 9, I did the typical, now I want to keep it in my as a PC, which at that time, if I had known that I was going to do that, I probably wouldn't have graded it at all. But I'm glad it's protected and we know the condition it's in. So this is one that, staying on the list, but last year it was ranked number 4. So that's indicative of a lot of new additions to this list that I'm excited to share as we go through. Also numbered to 150 like the prior one. You can see, obviously the backs are the same on these two. So that's a difference that you get into the next year, that the back backs are all different in the next year, but this year the back is the same, numbered to 150. Value does take a tick up because we can find actually a comp. I don't remember when the last comp was, but right around the $850, $860 range was the last comp that I could find on this one. So staying consistent from last year because there hasn't been a new comp since then. All right, number 8, we've got, this is one that I'm so excited to have, so excited to share. So we've got the 98-99 UD Choice StarQuest Gold, or the 4 stars I came to know it when I was younger. Again, if you saw that BGS reveal, this was in there, not a shock on the grade. Really wanted it slabbed in a BGS slab because of that inner sleeve to protect it. That foil is very delicate. So, you flip it over on the back, you can see it's serial numbered to 100. You can see those 4 stars there, which is why I always called it a 4-star. That's what I knew it as a kid. Even though we knew the colors, the number of stars was actually more important to us because that was what was highlighted in the Beckett. Number 24 out of 100. I think that number 24 is kind of neat, just, with the reminiscence of Kobe. So, this is one that I have, famously wanted in my collection since I was a kid, and finally got it in my collection. So very excited. And it's also one that right now while we're talking, there is a copy for sale. So we'll see what that ends at. This is one that, it's really a guesstimate on the value because these come up for public sales so incredibly infrequently. So by the time you're watching this, we might already know what that last comp was and have a, more clear indicator of what the value of this is. So I'm going to be interested to see what that goes for, but this is not going anywhere ever. All right, number 7. This is one that I got at the National this last year in Atlantic City. So we got the 96-97 EX Credentials, EX 2000 Essential Credentials. So let's make sure we get that right. This is numbered to 499. This is the first time ever that they had the credential set in any sort of product. The EX set famously has its roots all the way back to Skybox Emotion in 94, 95, then EXL 95, 96, then in 96, 97, they moved to the EX 2000, and then that is kind of the theming that stuck throughout the rest of the 90s. So, this is one of those insert sets that, first of all, is just beautiful. I have wanted this in my collection for a very long time. I love that holographic pattern and how it really plays well with the Magic uniforms. I think it looks gorgeous. It is also one that I had a Nick Anderson as a placeholder just because of how beautiful I felt as though the Magic uniforms looked. I didn't want just any old PC guy. I had a Michael Finley as well as a kind of a placeholder, but I really liked the Nick Anderson, the way that looked better than the Michael Finley. So now that I've got the penny, I'm very happy with this. But this is one you can see here. It's a SGC Authentic miscut. And those that know about this set, they know that these are famously diamond cut, and that's exactly the issue here. When I was looking at it at National, is in one of the Card Saver ones because they had gotten the kind of the pre-screening raw card review, whatever you want to call it, from SGC, and it was deemed authentic, but they didn't deem it miscut. They just didn't have that kind of specificity on those RCRs. So I sent it off to SGC to get it slabbed up. Had a feeling that that's what it was going to come back at, is authentic, and that is, but it is not a deterrent for me. Obviously the higher grades, if you get into like an 8 or a 9 in this card, it goes for a boatload, and as well it should, because they are so hard to find without that miscut issue, that diamond cut issue. It's so common on this set, and the penny as well. So one I'm ecstatic to have in my collection, one that I love looking at and pulling out, and one that also brings back great memories from the Atlantic City National. Next one here, another, we're going to have a lot of Atlantic City National pickups here, but this is a new one, and one that I'm ecstatic, again, to have in my collection. So the 97-98 Stadium Club Triumvirate Illuminator, and you might have seen the recent article in the Basketball Card Fanatic talking about this set, and I kind of spell how you can tell the difference. This is one that, as soon as I saw it in the dealer's case, I knew it was the one, and the BGS 9.5 was just a nice little cherry on top. I would have wanted it regardless of what grade it was, or if it was ungraded at all. So getting it from that dealer, seeing it there, that it was still there, I talked about it on my Instagram recently, kind of the story of getting it and when I got it, and you know how surprised I was that it was still there. But and I was also able to get it in a straight trade. So you know, all kinds of great stuff. The stars are aligning for that one. You know, we've talked about all these other ones are serial numbered. This one is not serial numbered. It could have been serial numbered. They were scarce enough to have deemed it to get serial numbered, but the pack odds were 1 in 384 retail packs. So very rare pulls from you know, a pretty easily accessible product with retail. Kind of an interesting thing that you know, the rarest and the hardest to find stuff was actually in retail that year for Stadium Club. So there are estimates as to the print run. We're not going to talk about that speculation. If you want to talk about it in the comments, I welcome it there. But you know those pack odds, and you know, you can do the math to figure out the approximate print run using stuff like the first 8 issues and the one of a kinds, because those have pack odds as well as serial numbers. So those who are smarter than me have crunched those numbers. But just a gorgeous card, intricate die cut. You know, hopefully I can figure out what I did wrong in sending this off to Beckett and send it back and get those subgrades, because I desperately want the subgrades. I do not want it sitting here without subgrades. That's just my preference. Next one, again, one that I had actually secured a deal before the National, but picked it up at the National this last year. So the 1998-99 Topps Chrome Apparitions Refractor. These are just incredible cards. They really, you know, that refractor finish just fits so well with these cards. They're cool looking in the base tops with the foil. They're interesting with the Topps Chrome without the refractor, but the refractor really makes that design come alive. So one of those that I had never actually seen in person, just always knew that I wanted to see what the refractors looked like, and here we go. And in a PSA 9, just to again add a little bit of juice on top. And these are serial numbered to 100 copies each. So you know, again, one that doesn't come up too often, but you know, this has actually relatively recently sold a raw copy had sold. So, you know, we can get some better figures thanks to Card Ladder using that. But, you know, just one of those that, again, when I got it, I was so excited. And, you know, not that, you know, the PSA 9 makes it so it's, you know, going to stick in my collection forever, but the card itself makes it so it's going to stick in my collection forever. It's just one that I'd always dreamt of. You know, we could go on and on and on about how I feel about this card, but one I'm very excited to have in my collection, ranking in at number 5. It's a new addition to the collection, all kinds of stuff. It's yeah, one I'm happy to share. This one was in the video last year, so this is my 99-2000 Topps Stadium Club Chrome First Day Issue Refractor, and it's in a BGS 10. And yes, that is a mouthful to say, but what is easier to say is these are numbered to 25 copies only. And that's really the story. You know, these cards are probably the most rare base parallel of the 90s other than the PMG green. So take that information, do with it as you will. It would be interesting to know what this set would be, you know, kind of looked at if a Jordan was in there, but, you know, the biggest name guy is Kobe this year, which I think is an interesting thing with a lot of the 99-2000 products. Also interesting is, you know, having Penny in his son's uniform. That changes the desirability for some Penny collectors, but it does not deter me whatsoever. It doesn't deter a lot of people, but it just makes it so people don't go after it as fervently in a lot of cases. So, you know, again, having that BGS 10 was a nice cherry on top. I was able to do this, get this in a straight trade when I, you know, this was a couple years ago, had gotten my my Fleer Metal rookie of Kobe Bryant graded that I'd had since I was a kid. Came back at PSA 10. I was able to do a straight trade for this, and I would do that trade over and over and over again. So, you know, again, this is you know, this is locked away in my PC. So, you know, it's a pop one. There are none higher. I doubt there will be any higher. You know, some people have asked me if I would send it off to try to get that that 9.5 on the quarters bumped and get it a black label. I am not doing that. I'm not risking it at all. I'm very happy with it the way it is, and it's protected. So, you know, just one of those cards. Again, we've talked about it before that, you know, as a kid I had the Rod Strickland, got it for Christmas. Ever since then I had wanted the Penny, really wanted everyone that I could get, but, you know, we can't have everything, right? We can't be hoarding cards like Pokemon, even though I probably hoard more than my fair share. So, yeah, this one was number 2 on the list last year. This year it is number 4, and you'll see there are, you know, there we're still getting to the number 1 from last year, but there are 2 others that have also bumped into the list, so excited to get to those shortly. All right, the first pickup of the National for me last year was this beauty, the 97-98 NBA Hoops. This is the high voltage 500 volts, and this is also in an SGC 8.5, which, you know, definitely adds a little bit to know what kind of condition it's in, but doesn't add a ton to the value, at least in my estimation. I don't think that this grade adds much to the value, but again, you know, not going to deter anything for me, and I'm happy to have this graded, protected. Some people have asked if I would switch it into a PSA or a BGS slab, and I don't really have any desire to do that at the moment. But if I was going to switch it into one, it would be BGS. But you guys know about that, I'm sure, for me. So these are serial numbered to 500. So one of the larger print runs of most of the cards on this list. But the interesting thing is there's a lot of speculation about whether or not the 500 that were supposed to be printed actually all got out. So there's some speculation that there might be fewer than 500 of each player. How many? You know, we may never know. But beyond the interesting topic of the scarcity, these are just gorgeous. That hollow foil pattern, the way it just kind of has that little spin wheel pattern there with the hypnotic stuff in the background. These are just really cool, really 90s looking cards. You know, and I just have always gravitated towards these. But the other nice thing is I was able to get this also in a straight trade last year at the National. So, you know, rolled up to a booth actually early on the day, Wednesday, and saw this at the booth and was able to do a straight trade, which, again, it's always nice, but getting in there early so you can scoop up some of these if you can find them before other people do is a nice perk when you get there early. So really excited to have this one. This is number 3 on the list. I think the value is probably close to what a raw copy would go for, but you know, you let me know if you think that it should be different. All right, number 2 on the list. This one was number 1 last year, so we've got a new king in town, as they say. So the 97-98 EX 2001 Jambalaya, you know, this is one that I got at the Chicago National in a trade as well, and has forever been my favorite insert based on the design. These are gorgeous. Again, another one that I just love to pull out. You know, there's a lot of cards on this list that I pull out often and just sit there and kind of look at and enjoy. So this is definitely one of them. One of those that has that kind of micro lenticular design that I like to talk about sometimes, that gives it a really cool 3-dimensional kind of bubble look that plays really well with that writing, kind of the cursive writing that goes up and down to say Jambalaya, but also with Penny doing a really, you know, emphatic dunk there in the foreground. It kind of adds a little bit of dimensionality to it with that lenticular. So really cool. Those die cuts obviously make it look like you know, a really interesting shape there that definitely stands out. The other thing too with this is the centering is a big key with that dark black border. You know, getting a 9.5 on centering, you know, this is the best grade for the subgrades of any BGS 9. So, you know, that's kind of a cool thing to add to it. The edges 8.5, you know, with the black border on the back is one of the things that you have to look for to see. You know, sometimes these do gem, and when that happens, it is a very rare thing to see. But really love this card. Regardless of the condition, it's just a gorgeous card to look at. All right, before we get to the number 1 card, a couple of honorable mentions from some stuff that was on the list last year. You know, some of it was honorable mentions, but these are kind of like the next 5 that would have made the list. You know, it could have made the list or were on the list last year. 98-99 Skybox Thunder Noise Boys. This one last year was number 8 on the list. 98-99 Upper Deck Encore FX, and this is the parallel version number 125. This was not on the list last year, but is a new entrant to the list. It's not a new entrant to my collection though, so you know, the value has changed to get it to the point that it's at right now in the honorable mentions. 9798 SPX Pro Motion. This one it's been on the list before. Last year it was down in the honorable mentions. This year, again, it gets an honorable mention from me. Love that look. $98.99. This is a UD Ionics UD Authentics autograph of Penny. The BGS 9 and the auto grade of a 10 is what gets it on the list. Last year this was number 3 on the list, and there is a reported print run of 475 on the Penny, even though that is not a print run that is printed on the card. That is what the Beckett database tells us that this is. The last honorable mention we have here, $98.99 UD Choices, the Prime Choice Reserve parallel. So this one is serial number 2100. This is in a Beckett Authentic slab. At some point I might go ahead and get it graded, but I know that this would not get, I think that the owner, the prior owner, set a min grade of a 9, 8.5 or a 9. So, you know, we're looking at an 8 or an 8.5, I think, probably, if I was to send this in. But we'll see. It's protected, so it's safe the way it is. All right, and number 1, we have the 97-98 Fleer Ultra Stars Gold. And this is in a BGS 9. We talked about this in the BGS order. You know, definitely one I want to get the subgrades on, so we'll, you know, keep you updated on that. But another just absolutely beautiful card. One, again, I love to just sit there and stare at. And also one that the print run, you know, we have some speculation. So what we know from the manufacturers and from Beckett is that the first 10% of the print run got this gold holofoil beautiful treatment. So what that means for the total print run is, you know, a little bit speculative, but the speculation is there are between 80 and 90 copies of each one. So, you know, again, an exceedingly rare insert parallel from the 90s, a beautiful one. I also think that the Penny is exceptionally beautiful, and you really get some of the design aspects better in the silver, actually, even though the gold is absolutely gorgeous. But I love how Penny is beautifully framed and centered with that star, the star really coinciding very nicely with the A in Orlando, which is also made with a star, the star for the Magic. It just is a perfectly fit theme, a perfectly placed picture for Penny. I think that the Penny, you know, really above all other players in this set, really looks perfect. It really feels like they did a very special job with Penny, and I really appreciate that. And you know, for those that were collecting in the 90s, it's no surprise Penny was one of the absolutely biggest stars. He was right up there with Jordan at this point in time in his career. So a gorgeous card. Extremely happy to have this in my collection. Extremely happy to have been able to get this at the National. Extremely happy to have had some help from Josh to get this. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that I'm very grateful for this card. Enjoy it greatly, and sharing it with you so you can enjoy it as well. And that is the number 1 card in my collection at this time. All right, that is my top 10. Again, a bunch of cards that I truly enjoy. A lot of these cards I consider personal grails, and a lot of these cards have knocked stuff off the list that I have wanted since I was a kid. So, you know, I'm very, very happy with where my collection is right now, and I'm really excited to share it with you as well. Some of those cards that I have raw, some of the other stuff that I have, you know, we talked about the grades and stuff like that. I would love your thoughts on if I should grade them, where I should send them, and whatnot. So leave that down in the comments if you have any thoughts or suggestions on that. You know, I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of these cards that are higher value, at some point in time I will get most, if not all of them, graded just for the protection and to know what kind of condition they're in. But again, not in a big rush for that, but I would love your thoughts on that. And also, last year, the last 2 years really, I've done a lot of top 10 cards in my PC of specific players. So if you'd like to see more of that, if you'd like to see me kind of revise those lists and share that with you, let me know that down in the comments as well. I'd be happy to share with you more of my PC if that's something that's of interest to you. So this was a fun list to put together, you know, really just to revise. I didn't put it together from scratch, but you know, and to share with you. I always really enjoy this because Penny's my #1 guy. So, you know, it's always fun to go into the cards and the player of, you know, which that they are the subject that is our favorite guy. So that's what we got. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any videos in the future. New videos dropping once, sometimes twice a week. We got looks into my PC, occasional pack openings, occasional collector interviews, you know, some grading reveals when those come in, some show vlogs and stuff like that from time to time as well, and so much more. Thanks. We'll talk later.